Well, everyone, we are elated about the second installment of Live Laugh Talks, His and Hers. Hey, Mico, how you doing?
Hey James, I'm great. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing good. I'm hanging in here. I'm not quite great yet, so I hope to be like you, but I'm working on
Okay, well
it.
that's good to hear.
We're working on getting there. So, on this episode,
Mm.
we're actually going to go back and revisit a prior episode. So, in episode 48, For the Love of Money, we had a How Did We Get Here about education. And as you guys know, I have been a harsh critic of our educational system because I feel like teachers, who are the absolute basis of this country, are not paid enough. So we've talked about that. We've talked about the failings overall. We've touched on all kinds of issues in the past. But in episode 48, I actually gave the American education system some credit. And we talked about how many students had been graduating higher than ever. And then we went into the whole lower than ever dropout rate. But guess what? Miko wasn't too happy about that particular episode. She felt like we gave the American education system way too much credit. I don't want to talk for you, Miko. You bothered me right after the episode about that, and which ended up the reason why we said, "Hey, let's sit down and let's create a show together," because of that episode. So so that I don't take any thunder away from you. Talk to us. Tell us what you feel first of all, and then I guess we can touch on all the topics or bullet points that you have. Of course, folks, you'll hear me interject. We'll have some fun with it. We had told you before we don't always think the same, so so this might be the fun episode because we're just we're gonna hear what she got to say. We already heard me. I'm gonna shut up at this point. So episode 48, folks. You want to hear me again on that, but we're going. I'm gonna shut up, and let her talk. Go ahead.
No, I mean I wasn't necessarily upset. I just was a little I wasn't really in agreement. Just
Mm,
on the stance of where we stand with the American education system. Like I told you, or like we discussed before, the No Child Left Behind Act. I do understand where they thought they were going to make a difference at with it because I guess the testing across the board was supposed to you know, lead to some, I mean not lead to, but just let them know where kids stood as far as reading, math, science, knowledge, and their skills to meet real world challenges, which was to me a good idea. But, you know, um some ideas when you have them until they go into effect, you don't actually know what's going to come out of them. My issue was real life challenges to me included things like budgeting, investing, credit, health, gardening, anything to do with real life. And then what you learn in school should also have to base off of those type of things because regardless of whether you learn algebra or geometry or take a deep look back in history, which to me is just what it says, his story is
mm.
is
Okay, Michael
fundamental.
Jackson
Yeah, it's
with his
fundamental in
story.
life. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So um I mean I just feel like the whole standardized testing led to kind of grade curve, um teachers throwing some grades just completely out, changing what the passing grade is based on, really. So you could say 70% of your grade is based on assignments, and then the other 30% is based on test. But if you're not getting a good result with that, you could say, well, okay, they're not going to pass with that. So let me say 85% is on assignments and only, the other, what is that, 15% is on tests. That way, the average will come out and they'll be passing. There's just so much. It's just. The fact that they don't, that our system is not across the board. Every state has a different curriculum they doing. Not even the states. Then you go from the states what they putting out they want. Then you go down to the city, they get to put out what they want, and then the location within the city gets to put out what they want. So why aren't we all working on the same education system across the board? Why is the funding not across the board?
All right, you gave us a lot to unpack there. Let's
Mm-hmm.
let's just hold up there for a second there, because
Okay.
we got about three different subjects. So let's talk first about the first topic that you mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
the no child left behind. Okay, so within that,
Mm-hmm.
there were studies done, and there was a strong feeling that what they call grade retention
Mm-hmm.
did not give the students the support that they need. They actually found that in the, I guess we could say, the social way that students live their lives outside of the school, as well as in the school, it gave negative effects. So it was worse keeping a student back, retaining them, than it would be to find a way to push them forward. So that's where that came from, that
So
methodology.
why? How? Wait a minute.
Because
Slow down. So why is it worse to keep a student back?
because it felt that there were negative
Like
consequences
what?
of retention.
Like what?
Social, because if you're a seventh grader and you're supposed to be going to the eighth grade, and all your friends went to the eighth grade, and now you're kept back in the seventh grade, that would bother the student psychologically, and it gave emotional outcomes that didn't aid the student moving forward. So they just ended up being in worse shape than students who were able to move forward and catch a grasp as they move forward, than leaving them behind.
So.
That's what the study says. So, in looking at that
Mm-mm.
and going back to what you said,
Mm-hmm.
you speak as though there are no retentions. Like, oh, they just pass the students on by. They just getting folks out there and just, changing grades and moving folks. But that's not the case.
Mm-hmm.
The the case is there's 450,000 students
Mm-hmm.
per year on the average who are retained. That's ages K through 8.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, there are students left behind, but the reason why that program that you mentioned was even invented was so that students could be given a better chance at academic achievement by being able to be with their peers instead of being kept a grade or even two or three grades, so that by the time the person graduates, they're 20.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing.
So my thing is, that see, me and you, we think differently, especially when it comes to statistics. I don't trust statistics, and that's just, we can call it what we want to call it. We can say, well, it's from this place or that place, and I feel like anybody can adjust numbers to satisfy and meet what they want to meet at the end of the goal. So I kind of base what I talk about off of talking to people, listening to people, and trying to get their viewpoint, and not what the government wants to put out there, because I'm a true conspiracy theorist, as I said before.
The
I,
only
I,
issue with that is, what do those people base their
yeah.
information on? It's got to be based on something
I
that
mean, it's going to be
we can
based.
go back
It'll
and
be
and
based
look
off
at.
of their true life experiences. So if I'm talking to somebody, and I'm talking to kids that are in school, and they telling me, okay, well, we don't have enough time to do this. Okay, well, the teacher has given me a packet to do, but they didn't explain what the packet was, and they want it done in a week, but they come home and they don't really have time to do it. Or the fact that, like you said, so many students have failed, but what are you failing them for? Are you failing them because they're not in school? Are you failing them because they're just so far behind that they can't make it? I've known plenty of people who have failed a grade or two, and it hasn't affected their, like, I think we are too light on. It's all about
But
right
what about
now.
the
Right
people that
now,
it did affect?
I think right now it's all about um you know, I can't think what they say, but you know how they talk about how it's all about the culture and you can't hurt nobody's feelings, and you know you got to be politically correct. Give me a break. I mean, I'm trying,
But
like,
we gotta
really.
we if we base uh facts
Mm-hmm.
on feelings, then
Mm-hmm.
we don't have facts. And if we if we sit here and we look at facts and we go about other people's personal life experiences, well, we all have had different life experiences.
Correct.
So
Yes.
so so that's not going to give us a basis to go on.
but,
We gotta stop somewhere and look at facts.
but where
So
you
we gotta
getting the
have
facts from?
actual numbers from.
You get the facts
Well,
and the numbers from the actual people who
from
want you to
from the
believe a certain thing.
from the
These people want to get, they want to get re not hired. What is it, the political term? When they got to go back and you got to vote for them again. They
reelected.
need for these things to happen and for the numbers to look right and to have a good reason behind it to get back to where they want to be.
Okay, so if that's the case, then why release any real numbers? We have the numbers that
Because
there's
people are asking for numbers.
450,000 people that have been left back.
Because
So
people are
that's a
asking for
fact.
numbers. People are going to ask
And,
for
and,
numbers.
and where you ask where I get my facts from, I get my facts. And like I said, I like doing that because I do have friends like yourself, not just you, but I have people and show listeners who ask, well, where did you get that from? So everything that I have,
Hmm.
I actually can prove it.
Right.
But the issue that we have is we can't go off somebody's feelings because we all feel something. What we got to do is we got to look at what those numbers are. You asked me where I get them from. Well, I get them from the state where you said you didn't even like the fact that the states are governing the schools. You know, you want something straight across the board. Well, that'll be an issue because we don't have a federal government. We have the Department of Education, yes, but it's separated into states. And as you mentioned, then into cities and districts and all of that. But for the most part, it's the states that govern our students' education. So that's the only place we can go back to and get the actual factual number.
Hmm.
I can't get them from somebody, my next door neighbor's feelings.
Well,
It just ain't gonna work.
my thing as far as feelings is, like I said, if so, but that's what we base in whether we, that makes no sense to base whether somebody, that's like telling somebody at a job, oh, I'm sorry. Yes, you can be promoted to the next level. You know why? Because it'll be messed up if you seen Bob and Sherry get promoted and you didn't get promoted either.
But that happens all the time. It's called the Peter Principle. People are promoted to their highest level of incompetence. So it happens on jobs all the time. I have had employers who I wonder how in the world they got the job.
I mean,
I knew
wrong,
more than they did,
don't get me
and
wrong.
they're my boss. So that happens, but
When
I
I
don't think
that,
that we're doing the Peter principle
but see
with school.
that when I,
What we're doing, what we're doing is we're looking at the students and we're going, okay, so if I keep Johnny back and he's in the seventh grade, and then I don't promote him to the eighth, and then he's still in the seventh grade when everybody else moves to the ninth, then Johnny is going to feel like a dummy
so
because he can't move on with his
you don't think
friends, and
feel
then
like with his
the
friends
number of
that are
people
smart with
the number of
class?
people continue. Well, it's going to sound like if we both talk,
Okay.
but but the number of people is going to get to the point that they're just going to drop out. That's why we have what we talked about last week is a dropout rate.
So you don't feel like Johnny is not going to feel stupid in the next grade with people with him who can read and other people can't, or people with him who can count from, shoot, 100 to 1,000 and he can't, or who can add and subtract properly and he can't, like, damn. Well,
Well,
I
what
can't
you're
do
doing
all
is breaking it down into simplicity.
that.
What it is that what Johnny would have an issue is that if he can't learn and if he's staying in one grade for multiple years, is that helping him? Or would it help him more to maybe where Johnny is in the seventh grade, he may not be as proficient. I'm going to give you a personal example.
Mm-hmm.
My best year. Now I was an honor student. I went to a magnet school, and I went all of this. I had a teacher for mom, and all this other kind of stuff. So my mom was involved in the school. But there were things that I learned when I got into seventh grade or eighth, we'll say eighth grade, that I actually struggled with in eighth grade. But then when I got to ninth grade, I understood it better.
Mhm.
And the reason why that was because I truly believe that the teacher who introduced me to those subjects in eighth grade wasn't the one that could reach my heart and mind.
Mhm.
I didn't get it until I got in the ninth grade. And then I'm sitting there going, oh, that's what we were talking about. But if you keep me in, let's just say, then it wasn't going to happen because, like I said, I was an honor student. But let's just say you keep me in the eighth grade till I get it. I may never get it from that teacher. She may not be able to give it to me. So that's what they're talking about. They're talking about moving people along to where they can get an education on a higher level, and maybe there may be an individual that could help. But by saying that, that's not the same thing as you saying somebody going to school and they can't read or they can't count. That's not what this retention was about. It was about individuals that can read and they can count, but they're not necessarily you know, getting where their peers are in that grade level. So it's two different conversations that we're having because we're not talking about people who can't read and who can't count. Now, when we get to that subject, this is how I feel about that.
So,
A lot of things
mhm.
got to start at home.
Mhm.
I'm sorry. A teacher is not supposed to teach you how to count.
Mhm.
A teacher's not supposed to teach you your ABCs, and they're not supposed to teach you everything. They can't be there to wipe your face for you. And I'm cleaning that up. They're not there to bathe you. They're not there to baby you. That's what is done in daycare. An educator is there to pivot and take on the next level from what you've learned at home. So not to hold you hostage for a second, but I just want to give the audience kind of a background. So we had a conversation about where I do some volunteer work in a school, and I was in a classroom, and there were 16 students in this classroom,
Mhm.
sixth grade. So the teacher asked the question, okay, so what is 23 hours from 8 p.m.? What time would that be? I'm in a classroom with 16 people who couldn't answer the question. Now, we might be able to blame that. Some people say, oh, well, we've got these smartphones and we've got digital things, and it's no longer analog. So the kids are suffering. No. We broke it down. Ask them, okay, well, how many hours is in a day? Do you know that 16 people sitting in that classroom couldn't tell us how many hours is in a day? One boy said 7. So I said 7 hours. So by the time you come to school and you go home, it's another day. He's like, oh, no, 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 no. Then he got worse. Oh, it's an hour. Oh, so every hour is another day. Boy, we gonna get through the year fast. You see, these type of those 16 people, we can rest assured, and it is a fact that they're not getting help at home. The school is suffering. They've called parents multiple times. They don't come to the school. They don't try to be involved. Teachers can't teach you that type of basics. Otherwise, you would be going to school all year round because they would have to come home with you. But then I digress. I'll let you continue on.
So we're gonna start with that. So if they not getting help at home, and it's 16, how many of them 16 students are still passing to the next grade?
Well, there, in my opinion, because I probably won't be there
Mm.
6 years from now.
Mhm.
But in my opinion, when we listed those 13% of dropouts, those 16 people will probably be the folks that would be within that percentage.
So not that we know that, we guessing, just like you guessing that they're gonna be dropped out,
No,
and I'm guessing.
I answered a question.
But
I didn't guess anything.
you
I
said it's
answered,
probably, so probably means it's not a
but,
fact, right?
but you asked me a question about these children's future, and I answered it.
But that's a
If you didn't want me to answer it,
my
then you shouldn't have
my
asked it to
point
me.
is, it's still a probably, regardless of how you go about it. So we don't know if they're gonna drop out or if they're gonna continue which
Well, I
and you
didn't know I
and,
was supposed to have a
and,
crystal ball.
and,
You didn't
and
tell me to look into
my
what you asked
my
me
crystal
was
my crystal
you asked
ball.
me what's
I
going to
have
happen
one.
to those
I
students.
got a crystal ball, James. My crystal ball
I
is
don't.
telling me most of them kids are going to go to the next grade. While we talking about personal experiences, I have a niece who I know she can't read properly. And I know she's not doing her math work properly. She doesn't know. And she's in the 11th grade right now. How you get that far to the 11th grade and not know these things? And it doesn't matter. All she has to do, she doesn't even have to show up to school half the time. And she's still passing. And I know she's not going to school because her mother has her home watching kids half the time while she goes to work. Now, I get that, it's a parent's responsibility to do certain things, but guess what? Teachers are teaching kids to count from 1 to 10 and 10 to 20 and ABCs. It is part of that curriculum. That's what they go to school and they learn in kindergarten, in pre-K. That's the teachers doing that. That's not the parents at home. My issue was that you as a teacher go to college, you get a degree. When you get that degree, they're teaching you how to teach other people what ways to do it. As a parent, yes, you're teaching the child to be respectful. You're teaching the child to tie their shoes. You're teaching the child to do this. You're teaching the child to do that. But if you want me to teach my child what the school is supposed to teach them, why am I sending that child to school? When I talked to a teacher, he told me a lot of parents are trying to do homeschooling now, which is just as bad because all you're doing is putting a child in front of a computer because most people still work. So you give the child a lesson. You're calling in between your job to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do. The only difference I got from people who are doing homeschool is not an all day thing. They have lessons that might last a good 4 hours.
Oh
The same
yes,
thing.
there are homeschooling is an all day thing. There
Yeah.
are several people that teach from home, and it
Yeah.
is all
I'm
day.
just telling you what I've heard.
I mean,
Told me that
my
it's like
nephews were homeschooled, and
that it's
and
like
their
that
mother,
they can
who's
get.
the daughter of an educator, was all day long.
Yeah, they were like, we can get this done in
So,
like 4 hours. But I'm saying that
so are you appalled by your niece and her lack of education?
I'm appalled by the whole thing.
So you're appalled.
appalled that her parent allows her to stay home instead of knowing that she needs that education. But now you have her doing things for you instead of doing things for her. I'm
See,
appalled that
that's what I'm appalled
I'm appalled that
at.
she goes to school and she knows nothing and she will eventually graduate and know
Well,
nothing.
again,
You get to
you don't have a crystal ball, and well, you can't say that she
you
will graduate. Now that's what
it's
you would
okay,
assume,
okay.
but you can't
I,
say that.
I
But now
assumed
I
that
can.
she was
What I
going to make
can,
it to the ninth grade. I mean, to the
but what
11th grade, and she did.
but what we can say is that you're more appalled than her parent is,
True.
and I'm not going to say that the teachers aren't appalled because you know what I said in that classroom I was appalled
Yeah. Oh,
with these sixth
oh,
graders. So,
but
but
that doesn't
the
if you
teacher
appalled
and
at if
and
you
and
appalled about what's going on at the
the te-
house, you should why I still don't understand how that is okay. And I'm not even saying it's the teacher's fault because the teacher is doing what somebody else is telling them to do. That's not their decision. And I'm not blaming the teacher. I'm blaming the education system as a whole. I have
Well, what do
nothing
you want the
against
education system to do? Let me give you an example. So we got educators. I know of an educator who got in trouble, got suspended because she decided on her own to go to a child's home unannounced, talk to the parents
people.
because she was appalled
Hmm.
at what was going on with this child in school.
Hmm.
Guess what the parents did? The parents reported her.
Yes.
She came to their house unannounced. They looked at the fact that that teacher pulled up their address on the school computer as stalking and got teacher suspended, almost fired. The only thing that saved her job was that the school fought for her because they said she is that type of educator.
Hmm.
See, my point is that nobody is coming to your niece's house and talk to her mama. That's not going to happen because if they did, they would be more in trouble than a little bit. So at some point, my point is that we can't look at educators. We can't look at the system. We can't look at any of that. We've got to look at home because that's where the failing is. Nobody can convince me that the school system by itself is failing these students. I can see where there's some failing. I can see that. But it's home. Because I promise you, I learned more at home than I ever did in school. By the time I got to the second grade, I was on the sixth grade reading level
And
because my mom made sure of that. Not my second grade teacher,
but
but
Jay,
my mother.
what did we just talk about? Everybody is different. Maybe you had a mother who was
Mm.
smart. Maybe these,
What's
maybe some
That's the
people,
problem.
maybe some
It's
people,
it's it's difference.
right.
It's difference in
So
caring.
maybe some
The
people,
caring is different.
so caring.
Not everybody's gonna be as intelligent as one other. But that's the same with educators. But parents need to give what they got. Right now, they're not giving what they got. They're not giving anything. We got parents that's not even responsive to the school system, giving them a call and trying to get help.
So we have those parents, but what about the parents that are? Just like you said that when you were making a
Those
statement that, I was making a general statement, that's a general statement again, because there's lots of parents who do. And my other issue with that is
and
with
those
the
children will be
and
successful.
with no, they no. Listen to me.
They
No,
will be
th-
successful if their
you
parents are
you can't
involved. They
say
will
that. You don't
succeed.
even know how smart each child is. So don't say that.
It doesn't matter. I said they will succeed. What is your
Every
definition
every
of
every
success?
child
They will succeed
succeeds.
in school if they've got their parents behind them. But if they don't, they're not going to succeed.
We just let me finish. We didn't talk about, I'm not worried about the parents being behind them as far as,
You should.
I'm not, listen to me. I'm not worried about the parents being behind them as far as being smart enough. I'm talking about also, I don't even want to talk about that right now because I wanted to go back to what you was talking about, which you just then messed it all up because I don't even know what you was talking about no more. But we can talk about the parents.
But the audience knows what I was talking
They
about.
do, but I don't because I can't go back.
That's not my fault.
It's not. But see, guess what? I have ADHD and ADD, which some kids have. So it take me a minute to catch and go back and back and back and forth. So that's
Hey,
what I'm talking about when I keep talking about, okay, you don't know what the kid is going through. As far as home life, people think, oh, well, my parent did this. You don't know what that child's home life is. You can say, okay, well, the parents don't kiss. The parent might not have time. I gave you the,
that's
I,
not the school system's
I, ga-
problem.
I gave you
If
the
the parent doesn't have time.
and it shouldn't be the parent problem when you send a whole packet home for them to complete when it should be done at school.
So wait a minute. So which hand is it? They're not the teachers are not giving them enough, or they're giving them too much. It can't be.
No,
On one hand, you saying they're not giving them enough, and now
no,
they're
that's not
giving
what.
them too much.
If I ask my grandson, what did you do in school today, and he can't tell me, and then I ask the teacher, and they go, oh, well, we just went over this, but that ain't nowhere near the whole day by a long shot. And then you send a whole packet homework. What do you do? What are you doing with your time in school? Is what I'm.
Well, if they're sending a packet home, then they we know what they did or have to
If
do
I
for
just
the day.
told you I talked to the teacher, and the teacher
But
told
I'm saying if they
me,
send a packet, where they send
and
an empty packet,
then
they
the
send a packet with some
no,
information on it,
with some
right?
information. But if it's things in there that I don't know what they're talking about, and then the child still doesn't know because it's still a child. So then you need to send home everything that you want done, and not just assume that that child is going to do what they're supposed to do.
But what I
Because
just heard is
because
a
still,
parent
it,
involved. You didn't you say you
it's
called the school
I
and then you say you talked to teachers.
did
What I'm
well,
talking about
no,
ain't the
no,
same
that's
thing.
just said because we said we was talking about everything, not just if the parent is not involved. I said if the person is involved and they just don't have the time.
And I said if the parents involved, they will succeed because that parent's going to see to it. You're already making my point. You are seeing to it
If
that your
if
grandson gets the
if
proper education.
if
You involved.
I'm involved in this instance, but it's some people that don't have the time. I'm an extra parent.
That's
I
nobody's problem.
I am an
If you don't have the
and I
time,
am an extra parent who is home, who is able to do it. You have parents out there who are single, who work two jobs in this market to try and survive with kids.
so then that's the teacher's
You
problem.
have people who work who have two parents and they both parents are working. You have people who maybe a parent is working during the day and maybe one is working at night, so nobody has to pay daycare. It doesn't matter if it's the teacher's problem or not, but when you say I'm gonna send a packet home and there's nobody really home to help that child with that packet. And if they say, okay, well, make time, and the child is at school, they got to get up 5:45 in the morning, get on the bus at 6:30 in the morning, don't come home till 4:30, 5:30 at night, got to have their dinner cooked and made, then got to make sure that they doing their hygiene, then got to make sure that they doing their homework. When is there any time at all for the kid? And God help if the kid is up in the middle of the night doing the homework or trying to get the packets done or trying to get the projects done, and they can come to school the next day and they sleep. Oh, it's the parents' fault again. Everybody has to take responsibility in this, is what I'm saying.
There
Everybody.
is responsibility. There is accountability because the school system, they got those kids for 6 to 7 hours. They're giving them what they need during their 6. You're telling me that when they get home, well, the parents don't have enough time. They could be, and they work in different jobs.
I
That's
just
not the
told
school
I
system's
just told
issue.
you that the
It just
man,
really is.
I just told you that the man told me what he did during the day with the child, and it wasn't enough to cover the school day. So the school system is not always, and I'm not saying all school systems are doing this. I'm just saying what I've experienced and what some other people have told me they've experienced. So
And that's and that's why we
I
can't go
don't,
off
I don't know.
experience. We got to go off of facts,
I don't.
not
That is their
experiences.
fact. That's a fact. If they can tell,
That's their
if I
fact.
can,
That's not a fact. Because
so
if
if I
if
go up
if
to
you don't have enough time for your kids, that's your fact.
So if I go up
That's
to the
not
school
everybody's
and if I
fact, and
go
that's
up
not
to the school
everybody's problem.
tomorrow and ask about a packet and they tell me what they've done during the day and it doesn't go with that packet, that's not a fact. That's what you're telling me. That's
That's
not a
what
fact.
I'm saying is that's your life
No,
experience.
that's
That's
not a
your
we
personal
we
life
talking about
experience.
fact. You just told me that wasn't a fact. Is it a
That's not
fact
the
or not?
fact of the school system overall. That's your personal experience. That's what I'm saying. We can't go off that. So, like I said, when I did that episode that day, I
Uh-huh.
can't sit here and go off people's life experiences. I can only go off what the facts are that I have before me.
And
Because
that's the problem that we have in America.
when I get a listener that comes in and say, "Where did you get that from?" I would almost say from Mico's personal experience. No, I can't say that.
No,
I got
because
to get it
ask me.
from a reliable
I,
source, which ain't your personal experience.
if you ask me where I get it from, I'm going to tell you that I've sat down and interviewed quite a few people and went through quite a few situations and figured some things out. I'm just saying that the problem we have in this country, period, is the same thing we always say. We always go off of what they tell us. Everything is based off of this is what's going on right
Well,
now. This is how we do it right now. These are the numbers that are going on right now. I'm sorry. You know, you can say, well, that's crazy for you to think that, but look where we are.
but if we're
We in
listening
a
to
country,
you or any
we
other person,
we
then
are
we're getting your fact.
we are in a
So
country,
those could be
we
skewed.
are in a country that does not do everything across the board. The question is why.
Well, because can you imagine one government governing 50 states' educational system? One governing body over there. It would be. You ever
It would
looked
be
at
what?
what happened with like the FDA? Because it is the Federal Department of Agriculture.
That's not.
And so when they decided they're going to take over the entire thing, then all of a sudden we got all of this. We got Ebola happening. We got all these other things that kept happening to the food sources because it needed to be broke down to a state, city level. So there would be somebody that can go look at the farms, go look at the areas and make sure everything's right. If we have somebody on a federal level trying to take care of the national school system, when you talk about dropout rates and nobody graduate because it would get buck wild because you wouldn't be able to break it down
They
to
got.
the lowest compound. It got to be broken down to where you get a principal per school, you got a superintendent per district, you got so that it's broken down to smaller parts, and then you can deal with it. But if you just handing everything over to the feds and so let's let y'all just handle it, can you imagine what that would look like?
I'm not telling them to just handle it. I'm saying have a standardized system. So let's say instead of letting your area that you live in figure out how much funding is for school, why not have the government say, you know what, everybody gets this funding. It's the same funding across the board. Period.
Well, we
You don't get
can't
to
do
have.
that.
You don't
And
get
the
to have.
reason why we can't do that because there's more students in the state of California than it is the state of
Of
South
course, you're
Carolina.
going to base
So
it.
I
Of
can't
course,
give
no. Come on
equal
now.
money
Come on now.
across the
We
board.
have been to the first, second, third, fourth, fifth grade. We're not talking about just giving everybody money as far as how many people are in the school or the number of people in the class. Of course, we're going to break that down. But as far as the amount of money that each school system should get, yes, That should be broken down and separated in that sense, instead of, okay, we got rich kids living over here, so yeah, they gonna get the best of everything. They get the best equipment, they get the best teachers, they get the best this. Then you got the lower income over here. Oh yeah, they got books from like 50 years ago that they still reading out of. Those are the type of changes that I'm saying definitely need to be made.
Well, we constantly work on those. That's why I said there's so much work to be done in that episode. There's so much work to be done because we got school districts that are segregated in 2023.
Yes.
So, I mean, yeah, there's work to be done. But what that episode was to bring awareness is that we are getting to a level where we can say we've got 87% graduation rate. Now that is a fact. And we got that many 13% of dropouts. So we've gotten to a point where we can say, okay, now let's look at the progress we made. Is there a lot of room left to? Yes, I put it in. I said it just like I'm saying now. Yes, there's plenty of improvement needed. But, you know, we got to also, when there's a pat to be given, when there's a attaboy or attagirl, let's give it
I,
because
I don't.
we got to look at the fact that we are making progress. There's so much more to be done, but we could get into a whole thing where, look at each other and go, well, it's a parent thing, it's a school thing, it's a this, that, and the other. And yeah, I guess again, we talk about life experiences, is that then we looking at our own. So when I look at my own, my education came from home. And then literally my nephew's education came from home because my sister decided to homeschool them because that was the best for them. She felt so. But when we look at a national level, we take James' personal life experience out of it. Yeah, there's a lot that the school system can do, but there's so much more that our parents can do. We've got too many. And my father, I love the way he mentioned this. Most importantly, we've got too many fathers missing. We got too many fathers not there at home, and they're not involved in the school system. And you go to a PTA meeting, you think it's a women's lib movement. There's no men there. Where are they? And that's an issue. So I'm advocating for more of those parents, and I'm advocating for more, discipline in the schools. I don't want anybody just getting passed and they just go to the next grade. What I want is for them to be able to move forward and get with educators that may be able to help them more than the educator they once had. I would like to see that. But no, I don't think anybody want just folks going to school and can't read. That's not even what that was built for. Nobody, retention was just done to better the student.
And I said that in the beginning. I said, it was a good idea in the beginning. It just led to a lot of misfalls. And now, as far as the numbers are concerned, I just feel like the numbers are a means to an end for them, to make people think a certain way. If you're telling me that it is 87% that, you know, are doing well in school and everything is fine, I'm looking at the other side of it as why the numbers so low as far as when they talk about the standardized testing. So you
But when you say 87% is doing fine and they're doing great, that's not what I said.
well what
I don't know what that
what
where that came from. I want to say that what we said was 87% graduated.
grad okay, that's even worse. Okay,
Because because
grad
because that was was said as a
yeah,
fact.
I think that's what caught me with your podcast when you said 87% graduate. And
Graduated.
all I could
Yes.
think about is what
You saying they did good.
no
Cause see,
I'm
what is doing
no
good?
I'm
Because in my household,
I,
with my dad, but I couldn't make a B at all. So there's students passing with C's, the C pluses. I couldn't make a B in a class without there being some type of punishment because my dad said I'm an A+ student. You understand what I'm saying? So, what's my standard of doing good? It can't be what I see happening in schools where people are skating by and still graduating. with a 75 or 70. I couldn't make a 75.
People graduating with a 60. People graduating with 50.
But my point is
Mm-hmm.
I don't. That's not my standard of doing good, and that's not what my podcast said. So we can go back to episode 48, listen to it again.
No,
I
no, no,
never
no,
said
no.
that,
You
and there's
corrected
no
me.
facts
You,
that say that.
you,
I
you,
said
you already corrected me. So I'm trying to figure out like why are we going through this whole? Yes, okay. But
because
you
I want to make sure that there's no
the misunderstanding was
understanding
corrected, and
of
you
what
said you did not
graduating mean.
say you did not
Graduating
say
doesn't
good,
mean one does well
but you said
in school.
not doing good is not what you said. You said graduate. I said okay. My
All right,
fault.
so and folks that and we did mention there's 13% that dropped out. So there are people that's dropping out. There's people that's not making it. There's people 450,000 students get retained. So
So
that's huge
my
numbers.
my huge number is if there are 87% graduating, what type of students are we putting in the real world?
Well, if their parents, as you said, don't have time for them, that explains why our world is messed up.
So we just pushing them through because the parents don't care. Instead of saying, you know what, well, you don't even get
No,
I'm
that's not what I
I'm
just
I'm not
said.
gonna put you out there in the real world and make people believe that okay, but when we look at when we go for jobs and people say they have uh degrees in this and degrees in that, we tend to take that seriously, like, oh, okay, well, yeah, this person probably knows that. I'm gonna give you a good example of why I say we pushing kids out in the world and saying that okay they graduated, because when I hear graduated it means that I think you can read, it means that I think you know your math, it means that you know a little bit of science, you know certain things. So just like
That's what we would
j-
hope.
that, no, if you
I
graduate,
said we would hope that,
if you're graduating a child, you should know that. You should
but I
know,
haven't seen that.
a person should know that when a child graduates they should be able to read. It is, I don't see how that's a great education
I,
system or even mediocre education center system to say that somebody graduated and doesn't know how to.
I
I'm
beg
telling
to
you,
where
and we're talking
where
about
I beg to
personal,
differ at.
where we're talking about personal, we can talk about me. Let me tell you something. I have a degree in HR and business management. James, I don't know HR or business man. I know HR for the simple fact that I've done HR for like 20 years on the military side. But if you put me on the civilian end of it, I can't tell you about HR like that. I can't. But you know why I have a degree? Because somebody else was doing half the work for me. And then the other half, guess what you can do? You go on your little computer, you push the little down button, and you pull up whatever, and then you put your information in. It's just that simple. And when if somebody was to hire me right now, I cannot do that job for them, but I got a degree for it. And those are the type of things that I'm talking about. Like you're putting people out here, not you specific, because you're gonna be like, I'm not doing, not you specifically. I'm saying that the system is putting people out here and putting them in the world to do something that they cannot do. And I don't see a lot of that. And I'm not saying that that's not going on in other countries. I'm saying that when I did go to um, Germany or when I did get stationed in Korea, the type of things that I was seeing that were different, and those kids were smart and they knew things. And my issue was also with the standardized system, the testing system. You got a standardized test. You don't want to have funding across the board, but you got the same test going across the board. And then in the same test, you go across these, they don't have multiple choice questions. They answering questions. It's not a guessing game with them. And I'm just saying that it's not the teacher fault. It's not the parent fault. I literally blame the system because the system has to be fixed. The system has to be fixed first. A teacher, like you said, a teacher can't go in there and say, I'm going to somebody's house. And I don't even blame the teacher for that. Because again, that's another thing where the system is punishing the teacher instead of worrying about what's going on with the student. It's the system. I don't care about the teachers. They're not even getting paid enough to deal with what they got to deal with.
That's for a fact. Well, I
Period.
agree with you with the system there and I agree with you over in a lot of points. Um, because your question earlier, about people graduating
Mm,
and what does that mean? Like they should be able to read and they should,
mm,
and we look at society as a whole.
as a whole.
But see, when I was saying earlier, I want to make sure you got your point because I know, if we talk over, yeah, I go,
Yep.
but um, we know that things went south when we rolled up to McDonald's one day in the '90s and they had pictures on the cash register.
Oh. Mm,
See, that's when the world went south. See, I can tell you when. See, no longer were you required to be able to count, and no longer were you required to be able to read. You want to know. You want the person want a Big Mac. You just press the button with the sandwich. The Big Mac. You see what I'm saying?
and you don't have to read
No,
no more. You can do audiobooks.
it is, and that's what's sad. See, society. I agree with you. Society as a whole has made education the back burner. Now we're looking at people and going, we're deciding what they're not going to need. See, when I was going to school and there was algebra and all that, I would ask my parents, I would ask the teachers, why, when am I going to use this? And they said, well, you will when you decide to do this or that. Or you go to a grocery store. It all makes sense. But see, we don't do that anymore. You know what we do? And I know you mentioned this, so I'm gonna say it because the audience went in our private conversation. But they started giving the students calculators. I didn't have calculators when I was in school.
Right.
Did you have calculators when you was in school?
Surely did not. I wish.
Did not at all. In addition to that, you mentioned it. I'm giving you credit because I don't want to sit here and take your thunder. But you mentioned now they're getting computers, they're getting tablets. They don't even have books.
Mm,
They got a tablet. Okay. Now what can they do with that tablet? See, I'm thinking with my brain that they don't necessarily have to learn anything. All they got to do is know how to copy and paste.
there it is.
So, so where's the education? But then we sit here and we look at it and then we go, well, this is what they're going to use in the real world because when they get out into the world, they're going to be using computers. See, now they don't even have penmanship.
Nope.
So I'm sitting here helping a teacher and I'm reading chicken scratch. I'm like, I can't read this. I'm not going to.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even going to try. It'll give me a headache. See what I'm saying? So we're not even teaching our students how to write. Because all we say is, oh, they're going to be using computers out in the real world, so they don't have to learn cursive. They don't have to learn penmanship. But I see students in math class writing numbers the wrong way. One young man, he's right-handed, but he was writing the number 4 with the line first, and then he tried to angle the other two.
Uh,
I can't read that 4. It looked all awful. Learn how to write your numbers.
right.
Learn how to write your letters. Learn how. But like I said again, I see a dedicated grandmother and mother in you who's ready to fight about this. And I agree with you. Fight. The only problem is we do not have 700 million of you. And we need all of these parents in the United States to be just that passionate.
You know,
To be ready to fight the school system, fight the power, as they say. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
it is. I think I'm just frustrated with the whole system. And
As well you should be.
I think even beyond the system. And it's just scary to think what the world is coming to. Because I think, like you said, nobody's really counting anymore. You know, like I'm talking about, you don't really have to read. And I just feel like we're going backwards and nobody's really paying attention.
And that's scary.
And it's it makes the world scary to me because we're gonna, after a while we're not gonna need to do much because they're gonna have robots out there doing stuff for us.
But that's what I want to know is who's going to program the robots if these people can't do anything? Yeah, they just, it was a 73-year-old man who told me the other day. He said, "I hope the Lord takes me before this generation
Mm,
is running the world."
mm, mm.
And I said, and I thought about it. Like I'm looking at these people, I'm sitting there thinking of the same thing. Like, man, when they are running the world, these are future, Congress people, presidents,
Right.
these folks. Yeah, wow. what a scary world that will be. So I understand what
Yeah.
the young at heart man was saying because ah, I mean that to me it answers a lot of questions. Even what you said right there answers a lot of questions because I look at like presently, and I try not to get into all of that politics. I'm not in no try. We don't
Mm.
in this show, but I sit and I look at the candidates, and they're 80 years old or very close. Doesn't that tell you something? This country can't find
Mm,
a person that's your my age
mhm.
that's qualified.
That's quality.
You understand what I'm saying? So that's the world we living in now. That we gotta find, our 80-year-olds. We gotta get grandpa because we can't do it. Because we're not there. We didn't get what we needed to get, whether it was at home, the school, or both,
Mm-hmm.
so that we can adequately run the nation. So I'm not trying to be political in saying it. I'm just saying, just think about that. Take that home, chew that up. That the reason why you see individuals who, are my father's age.
Right.
That's who's running the
Who's
country.
running it?
Because if you turn the reins loose and you let us
Oh,
or the generation after you and me,
I,
woo,
I talk about it.
woo, you military, what that mess that would be, right? So
Oh, and you should see the military, the new school military. It's not even strict no more. Everything is just go with the flow right now. Everything.
I don't know. I'm so lost with it all. It all bothers me, and it all bothers me because I love education. I love it. I it's my passion
Mm,
more than anything else. More than my sales ability and cosmetology. This that is it far exceeds all of that, and I just am appalled that there are teachers out there that won't do what they need to do or get better educated or try to at least spend time on themselves to become better. Because see, a teacher doesn't necessarily know everything.
mm-hmm.
A teacher is able to reach the hearts with what he or she does know. And I don't see enough heart reaching right now. I agree with you there.
And I,
There's not enough heart
I
reaching.
will say that I agree that even if you're doing all you can, you're going to get these certificates and you taking up these extra classes and trying to understand the kids more. It's frustrating if you have
Hmm.
a a classroom full of kids and half of them are unruly and disrespectful.
Mm.
So
Hmm.
how are you even getting what you want to get done completed in the class if it's a disruption every 5 minutes? Oh, and a teacher told me one thing. He said that, and I don't know if this is true or not because this is what he said, and he said he didn't did the research, and I have not. But he was like, for every child, their attention span is the same age that they are. And I thought about
Mm.
that, and I was like, that's got to be hard to deal with.
Wow.
And he said, so think about the attention span of a 8-year old you got sitting in class. You got about 8 good minutes to get that in. He said, and then it's lower than that now because of all of the social media that they deal with. So I
Wow.
feel for the teachers also. It's not just, the parents. Like I said, it's not about the parents or the teachers. I just feel like it's the system that has to be fixed.
It has failed us for a long, long time. It failed us before you and I was ever born.
Yeah.
Because before you and I was ever born, people that looked like you and I couldn't even get an education.
Mm.
If they could read, they were killed.
Eh,
It was, you know,
oh, yeah.
it was a test. Like, what does this word say? And they say, what you doing knowing how to read? That was against the law.
Mm.
And so think of it. Then as the years progressed, then it was separate but equal, but it wasn't equal.
It wasn't equal.
And I mean, so long before there was a you and I, the system has failed. And I wanted to give for once. I had it was actually a listener. He's like a brother to me named Owen, who said when you started off with that school thing, I was wondering, I was hearing all the good things you were saying. I'm like, okay, well, how is this? How did we get here? He's saying all this good stuff, but I wanted to give kudos for once.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we did, and we used, you know, those numbers that were there for us, and those were good numbers. And I would like to see that continue to improve, but I would like to see that along the lines of what you said. So if we've got 87% of folks graduating, let's make sure it's 87% of people who can write, read,
Mm. At
add,
least the base.
and don't need the pictures on the McDonald's cash register.
Yeah.
Have you ever noticed that nobody can give you change at a fast food restaurant?
Oh, yes.
They got see because they got a button for that. So it's 1995. You gave them a $20 bill. They just hit the 20, and then the computer tell them how much change to go. You see, that's pitiful.
It's a sad day.
So that's as you said, that's society.
Hmm.
It really is. I'm glad you brought it up because at the end of the day, can you blame? I mean, yes, schools need some blame, parents need some blame, but society needs 90% of it, maybe. I don't know. Huge number. Huge number. But so we had promised our audience that they would get a chance to listen in on us having our discussions and our debates. And like we said, we're gonna go back and listen to this and we're gonna be laughing. I know our bottoms off because we smart aleck with each other and sarcastic and all that. And for those of you who out there listening, now I'm gonna call out my sister. I'm gonna say, hey Jackie. Um, this is our banter. Reason why I said Jackie's my protector. I don't want her coming looking for you, Mico, because you know, and I had a guest on one time. He was just kidding with me. He said, I want to, sometimes I just want to kick you in the bottom. And my sister, like, who is he? Where where is he at? What's his phone number? I mean, she was serious. So, so I know when she listens to this, I just want you to laugh. And we kidding. We don't hate each other. We love each other, and we like to banter, and we want the audience to banter as well. So we want you guys to write in. Please, admin at livelaughtalk.com. Please write in. Please go into the website at Live Laugh Talk. Tell us what you think about his and hers. I actually enjoy my time with Mico outside of these podcasts. We have so much fun together. We enjoy each other's conversations, and we hope you do too. We think this would be a lot more entertaining than the times where you've heard us just sit here and go, yeah, 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 you're right, girl. Let me tell you. Oh, yeah. So at least with this one, you guys you actually had a chance to hear the real us and how we talk on the phone. And at the end of it, what we say at the end of it, Mico,
What's at the
I
end?
love you.
I love you. Yes.
I
We.
love you too. So anyway, we have taken up a whole hour of your time,
Yes.
but we promise entertaining segments, and so I am so excited about this one, and I hope you guys are too. We can't wait to hear back from you. So as what was it? George Burns used to tell Gracie, "Say good night, Gracie," and she would say good night, Gracie. So so good night, Mico.
Good night. So.
That was awesome. Good night. Y'all have a great one. Thank you so much, girl. It's a joy as always.
No writing.
Bye bye.